this is tough because depending on what level you are at gymnastics, I mean, if you watch an elite practice, if they're not getting a correction for every little thing that they do, they feel like the coach is mad at them. They're wanting to be critiqued, and not from a mean standpoint, but from a constructive standpoint. They're wanting to get better. And so whereas if you compare that to maybe a compulsory level practice, if you correct them too much, it's like, oh man, I can't do anything right. And so kind of having, I think that conversation with the whole group of guys, if I'm on you, it's because I believe in you and I think you're really good. And so I know when I'm coaching the girls, I always try to be like, all right, I'm being picky because it's really good, but this is what you can do better. Or just, giving them some sort of reason of why you keep giving them a correction of like, you're almost there. We're doing it together, and making it that team effort, whereas just like me against you.
Yeah, the
Wow, that makes
challenge is, yeah, the challenge is every one of your athletes usually hears your coaching a little bit differently too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
agreed.
so there's the challenge. There goes back to the relationship piece, looking at the nonverbal clues, seeing if they're actually responding to your coaching or reacting to your coaching. That's what I tell my staff all the time. A response means a corrected behavior in the direction that you want them to go. A reaction usually means they're reacting to how you're saying it and in the direction that they're taking it now personal. And that's, again, that's got to be fixed pretty quickly, because that'll manifest into a problem. And it can manifest into a bigger problem across the team, because now all of a sudden two people see it the same way, but then there's 8 or 10 that feel totally different. And now are these two just getting picked on by the coach? No, they're being corrected. And one of the two doesn't like to be coached in front of the rest of the group. So, I mean, it really takes a lot of time to just build those relationships, to know, which buttons to push and when on how you're making the constructive criticism. And that's, something that I think, again, got to set boundaries when you start. Like, when we're going to go into these drills, I'm going to let you go play. I'm going to let you go do your routine. When we get done now, we're going to have conversation about what it was, your footwork, your eyes, your hips, your back, whatever it is. We're going to have conversations about those things. And I'm going to talk to you about how you correct it the next time. Right. And I may do it a little loud because everybody's got to hear it. Now, that one person that doesn't like it being loud, you can't do it that way. So again, we've had that conversation to where that group that you're working with understands that in advance, then there probably won't be any surprises when it happens in the moment. Or when it does happen in the moment, you've got the relationship built where the athlete will be like, oh, coach, I thought you said we were going to talk about that in the meeting room, not out at practice. So, it just takes a lot of work. It just is. When you start talking about the mental side of an athlete, it is the number one challenge to a coach. It's like when you have a child and you ask them if they're hungry. I mean, they don't say anything, so you can't assume anything. So there are a lot of, they don't want to show weaknesses as athletes. And so you have to assume something's going on, and then you got to try to find a way to work through it. I was just going to say, I mean, you're right. It's so crazy because when I first started coaching, it was all about learning the X's and O's and fundamentals. Now, as I've gotten, I think, more mature as a coach, which I will readily admit, I failed miserably as a young coach at understanding all of this. If you look, I have to have Twitter because of recruiting, but I love the psyche of life. And so I'm constantly learning as a coach on how to better talk to my athletes and how to better educate my coaches than I am about whether or not this is the blocking. I pay someone to teach blocking. I'm trying to teach the mind to be able to maximize the opportunity. And, we're all retired, outstanding athletes here, I guess. I'm looking at a crew of amazing athlete women here. I think back to my time. I didn't operate like in the 90s. We weren't talking this way. This wasn't what was going on. And so a lot of my personal experiences weren't in this road. If I were to go back and do it all over again, I started as a psychology major. I didn't quite make it because it was a pre-med track here. But that's still an area that I'm a sponge. I love just learning how the mind works and how to, to me, the most important voice you control is a little voice in your head. And however I can teach young people how to have better positive self-talk, I think the better off they're going to be when they face adversity and or flip it over, great success, and have the humility and the courage to go back and do it even harder. That to me is what's the art of coaching beyond the fundamentals and the technique and the health and safety.
So great. Yeah.